Well, hello everyone. Here to show you the DARE, class of 1996. So you say coloring activity right here is for resistance education. It is, and if most of us, have seen, from the previous video, the activities I did, talking about, it's like which cause like for education. I'll say, it's like say for that, talking about, it's like with the DARE card right here. Is you got right here. Is it talking about? Is that this dairy cart that is like had around had around for quite a while. It is, I had it around for about 13 years. It is, and just knowing about that if most of us were to actually say go up to McDonald's, that's what I remember that's what they said that if you, I don't know if you'll be able to take this card to like they didn't tell me that you could be able to take it to like a to a Wendy's, or if it was a White Castle, or if it was a Dairy Queen or a Burger King, where you can get a free soft drink. It is, and like I mentioned before about that, with the card right here, is basically showing about this, like you have right here is resistance education, and of course when you're with drug abuse, and right here is for the graduate, and I remember that of course a few scratch marks, because of course it's pretty old, but I remember that at McDonald's apparently that you can bring this into the McDonald's restaurant, of course, and then it would you would be able to get a free soft drink. It is it's like that for whatever size. I think it was a small. I think it was a free small soft drink. I think it was that to show them that this the card right here, and then of course you would be eligible. It's like they would let allow you to get a free soft drink. And I remember over at not Kmart, but it was say other stores like for Walmart, it was that there was a McDonald's restaurant in there where I would show them. I remember that a couple years ago I would show them the card, and then of course that they would say hand out us like the free soft drink it was. And a lot of us were probably thinking about that about the card. It was you would show them the card and for a free soft drink. And I remember one time that somebody there had asked me to tell them 3 ways to say no and don't look on the back. It was, and it's like talking about, it's like walk away, change the subject, whatever it is. And but of course on the back of the card there's 8. There's 8 ways that you can say no. It is. So look, it shows right here. It's like for cold shower, of course, walking away, change the subject, and then of course saying no thanks. And there's 8 examples right here of ways to say no. And I could maybe think about maybe 50 ways or something like that. 50 ways, and more likely out of those 50 ways is knowing about people probably thinking about that. If you are walking somewhere and somebody offers you something, of course they say it's candy. They may say it's candy, but it's really something such as what you say is could be a type of a drug, and more likely that I don't know if I really want to go into details. If most of us know are familiar with like what you calls like marijuana or cocaine or anything like that, but basically about drugs though is that the type of drugs is like which cause like for any type of drugs it is that I can remember from what I learned in that training, say for drug or for resistance of a drug abuse program, it was going on at the school that for one day out of a week that there would be an officer that would come in and talk about courses about knowing about drugs, and talk about how to help students be drug free. It was, and of course the ideas I came up with right here will be like pretend that you cannot talk, of course, to think of legal action and say no with the spelling, and then pretend the police are called, and of course more. But I really just think that a lot of kids, it's like between 15 and maybe 16, 17 years old, a lot of times that they could probably thinking about that I can maybe draw an example. It's like talking about this, like I remember the officer would say something like a lot of times that drugs are grown. It's like say on a plant it is, and in a lot of ways that there may be some people that do start using drugs because of the fact about that somebody may tell them. And I guess the whole training course about the DARE program, of course, is trying to keep the children. It's like knowing about it's like, no drugs, don't use them. They're not worth it. Et cetera, et cetera. And knowing about the type of training that I had, of course, about understanding about the drugs it is. But of course, looks like poison ivy. But yeah, right here is that go ahead and add a little bit more deep. But anyway, that with the drugs though, that a lot of people are thinking about with drugs that they say grown on on the type of plant it is, and then knowing about that there may be some some people and kids that may start to using drugs. Of course, you see on those movies it is they start using drugs, and a lot of times that they say that they may try to talk you into doing it. There's ways to say no, and a lot of times some people may say that sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. But the ways to say no is by saying it's like no thanks, and I can't talk. I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're asking me. Whatever it is, change the subject or anything like that. But the way I think about it is that of course these ideas I don't think I mentioned to any of the classes back at the time, back in 1996. But one thing I thought about, of course, was the fact about that was maybe pretending that maybe the police are called and maybe they act like that. The fact about actually I'm allergic to it, or I don't right, if somebody were to walk up to me and then say it's just candy, the more likely I'll maybe say that candy don't look like that. Well, candy is not supposed to be on fire or whatever you call it. Well, I really know what candy is or something like that. But a lot of people probably think about they may say it's chocolate. Chocolate covered chocolate covered drugs, and more likely that a lot of people may think that they may try to trick you, maybe say if it's con or anything like that, try to trick you into trying something. They say it's candy, they may say it's a butter cake, or they may say it's a pumpkin bread, or they may say it's a cornbread. It is. They may say it's cornbread, but then they may a lot of times I hear that if you try to bake drugs into like a a lot of times they say that it don't work. But on here into the knowing about that there may be some people out there that may say that they try to get you to try and using the drugs just by the fact about you make money. You're not part of the team if you don't start trying it. Everybody else is doing it, so you ought to go and try it and make money. And I could probably think about that anybody would probably say that with money though that about if you were to maybe sell any type of drugs it's like not really say that not all drugs are bad, but like the type of drugs that are illegal, such as I can maybe mention marijuana, that they probably say that there are some states to where they say that for medical marijuana it is that are legal, but on the other hand too that they say that it's not like you can actually sell it out. It's like some people may say that sell it out on the street or whatever it is, that a lot of times that any type of drugs it was, but they tell you that it's worth about $5,000. You make about 20 or 40,000 or so dollars if you were to actually sell it, and then tell people about that whenever you smoke it that whenever you use it, that it makes you feel good or whatever you call it, and then knowing about between drug use, and I know with me that with the DARE card too, that I don't know why that maybe they didn't mention anything about, of course, about abductions or if kidnapping, ways to protect yourself away from a rapist or from somebody who wants to try to take you into their arms by a stranger, or if it's anything to do with alcohol. That I remember that I learned some basic trainings, of course, about alcohol whenever I was, I think whenever I was in middle school and high school also, that talking about the type of alcohol products. But a lot of people probably thinking about that if anybody were to try to sell, any type of alcoholic type products illegally, then more likely that it's like talking about ways to say no. It's like if anybody offers you, if they say it's a Pepsi, or if they say it's a drink that you're familiar with, that they say it's, hey man, it's just Dr. Pepper. It's just Dr. Pepper, and then they may go ahead and add some vodka, or maybe some Southern Comfort, or any type of alcoholic type product to the drink it is. And more likely you're probably thinking about somebody offers you something, and more likely really I really think that about almost everybody has the right to ask, what is it? It's like, here, have a drink. Well, what is it? Here, try this. This will make you feel better. But the way I think about it, I'm like that really. It's if people are really anxious and going out there and like say gang member, whatever it is that they talk about what drug abuse it is knowing about if you had the training before, is like ways to say no, that a lot of times it may not involve maybe a free soft drink at McDonald's or whatever, but may involve is knowing about teaching our kids, the kids in the future, the grandkids, cousins, kids, or anything, any of our children, is knowing about the fact about that somebody tries to talk you into getting into using whatever, or anything like that, is just to know that hey, that there are other ways, of course, to be able to make money. There's other ways to make friends too, other than the fact about using this stuff. And knowing about say 1 through 8 is knowing about, it's like a whole part about the DARE program. It is that that they've asked you a number of times, of course, try it. It's not going to hurt you. Hey, try it because everybody else in the group is using it, or something like that, and you say it's for no thanks. But I really just think that the whole matter about the truth about the training, of course, was basically talking about is that maybe not really about the types of drugs, of course, that are out there. The way I think about, my opinion about, was talking about is like ways to avoid the whole purpose about if somebody tries to talk you into to doing it. And of course is knowing about that if they say that it's worth money, you make money, you make pretty good money if you were to sell at least about maybe 13 ounces of it. And then the more likely they probably think about is that if it's any type of drugs, like I can maybe mention maybe dope or weed or anything like that, and people probably thinking about hey, try it. It won't cost you anything, but then if you want to make some money. But the way I think about it, it's like for the words for no thanks, is I think about it, it's like is this maybe to say that oh well, I don't speak no English, and then they probably thinking about it, and then they try talking in another way and be like yeah. And that's whenever it's like talking about people probably thinking about that a way to pretend that maybe that if the police were called, or maybe to make it look like it's a scene that you want to ignore, whatever it is. But the whole part about, of course, about the training, of course, was knowing about that. It's like for the graduate, it's like with me, I still had this card too, and just knowing about that it's like since I got this card, from whenever I graduated, it was, and just knowing about the fact about, one thing I do ought to remember, of course, is that, the card may not still be good, for like, which calls like for that free soft drink. It may still be, or it may not still be good. But the way I think about it is that knowing about, is at least talking about it, and of course is to think about the decisions that we do make. It's like talking about for who pays the price for it later on. But other than that, it's like knowing about that the things that of course that we can maybe learn about the whole program it is. And I can remember that I think I got a DARE shirt, and then of course a DARE reward it was, and knowing about the time that I spent there at that gathering. But I can maybe say that, of course, to teach other people about, so far as drug-free awareness, it is knowing about that. That if there's anybody who's extremely curious, of course, about the drugs, it's like knowing about that hey, just because it's like somebody else is using it or anything like that, or maybe the fact about that, yeah, maybe you just like looking at the fact about that things burn. You like playing with fire, or maybe you want to be creative. A lot of people probably think about if you want to be creative, if you want to make something, make some money, go out and go out and sell some pot, for a couple of thousands or so, hundreds of dollars it is. And I could probably think about a lot of kids more likely have done it, because of the fact about, maybe whenever they were in college, or maybe whenever they were in school, whatever, that they probably have used the drugs, due to the fact because that they want to make some money, or the fact about maybe, somebody that they know that's doing it and chewing tobacco, whatever it is, that they could probably thinking about that, I've been doing it. I've been using it for 10 years and it hasn't bothered me. So there may be some people probably thinking about that they've been doing it. They've been using the drugs for over 20 years and they haven't been caught, whatever it is. But the way I think about it, y'all know, is about the fact about it is like, no thanks. I have my own ideas. I got another idea. More likely they could probably think about the best answers. So as far as, for the best answers is knowing about, it's like how to avoid a lot of that stuff. It is the best answers, of course, is to know about really, if you got a friend that more likely, or somebody that is using it, to more likely, if that involves, ending the relationship with it, the more likely that hey, that there's a better source of life other than the fact about that, than for the drug abuse it is. And the way I think about it is like the whole part about the reward, I guess, about the whole thing, that you're more likely that they say that they don't expire, is more likely is to maybe so far as good education as knowing about understanding about what the whole purpose about using drugs means, and then knowing about that there are some drugs out there that do help you a lot whenever you do get sick, and of course if you're on any type of medical issue it is, but on the other hand too, that knowing about that, the way I think about it, that people probably thinking about that, that they talk you into doing something, and just knowing about that it's like just sign right here. Just sign right here, and then you're a part of the team. It is. But the way I think about it, I'm like that. It's like you can maybe thinking about it. It's like come up with a fake signature, whatever it is. But just knowing about it's like the date. You can maybe write. It's like for the date. Just think of if they would ask me. It's like talk about present this dare card. To like what you call it's like a restaurant is knowing about. Think of ways for a fake ID, for a fake signature. It's like if you know for sure that if you think that you're working for a business or somewhere, that they're asking for a signature from you, ways that you can maybe make a fake signature. It's like talking about if you know for sure that that there something's going on that is illegal. But anyway, I don't know, between recommended is knowing about, at least it's like say this, like, for so far as for no thanks, walk away, stuff like that. But I was also going to mention also is like that between you say for fake signature it is just knowing about the people that you maybe work for is talk about was set up, and a lot of times that may happen to where somebody was set up over the fact about that they were caught using drugs, maybe abusing drugs it is, and knowing about that, what is the best answer for knowing about if somebody else were to give it to you. They say it's candy. They give you a bag of a thing. They give you a brown bag, a brown sack, brown sack bag, and then the next thing you know, they say that it's filled with sandwiches. They give it to you and say that it's sandwiches, it's turkey sandwiches, and next thing you know, that the police may find you, and then the next thing you know, it's like that they find out that there's drugs inside the bag, and like knowing about you had nothing to do with it, such and such, and then saying about it's like it's like do we really call that reverse? It's like the fact about they try to talk you into doing it, and then you tell them, no, I'm not doing it, no thanks, walk away, and then the next thing you know that they hand you a bag and they say that there's, okay, well, here's some sandwiches and thanks for your time, and the next thing you know to find out that there was, that they put drugs inside the bag of sandwiches, or they put drugs inside the bag. It's like, he may not open the bag until he gets home, or whatever it is. He may not until he goes somewhere else and finds out what's in the bag. But on the other hand too, the way I think about it, if somebody gives you something, a lot of times it just seems like that it's either between a handshake or any type of award it is knowing about whatever that type of award it is knowing about how well the training went. But so far as for what I can remember about say for the DARE resistance education class, say 1996, it's talking about, it's like between a free soft drink and of course with to say the a training course is knowing about. It's like for our award is knowing about is that for the ways for surfer the better. But other than that, it's talking about for the words like the answer for no thanks. It's talking about with the DARE, say class of 1996.